this video, I'm going to be explaining about the changes to ISA rules that are coming into effect from the 6th of April 2024. Now, as I always say in these videos, hit that like button if you find it useful, but also subscribe to the channel. Now, there's been a lot said about the rule changes, trying to make it sound more complicated than it really is. There are subtle changes that most people probably won't even take advantage of, but it's worth being aware of. Now, I'm going to put links to an article on the Money to the Masses website that summarises the changes, but also a link to an official HMRC document that is really aimed at providers, explaining a little bit more detail, if you want it, about some of the changes that were announced in the recent budget. So jumping across to that article on the Money to the Masses website, you can see it here, the ISA rule changes for 2024 to 2025. Now, if you go down to this section here, you can see a nice summary of the rule changes, and the main one is the first one that's listed there, that you'll be able to open and pay into multiple ISAs of the same type in the same tax year. What does that mean? Previously, the rules always stated that you could not pay into more than one of the same type of ISA in a given tax year. So let's say you started a tax year and you were paying into a cash ISA, and then you saw a better rate from a different cash ISA provider elsewhere, and you then decided, I would like that. Well, tough, you couldn't, unless you stopped paying into the existing one and the new one accepted transfers in. So what used to happen is people would be able to shop around realistically. Now you will be able to, from the 6th of April 2024, be able to pay into both of those ISAs if you want. The rule is, though, you still can't exceed your £20,000 annual allowance. So that ISA allowance is still set in stone, but it does give consumers more choice. It does also mean that you could pay into multiple stocks and shares ISAs in a given tax year. You may, for example, have one provider that is particularly good when it comes to trading shares, and another which is more cost effective when you're wanting to hold certain types of funds. So there will be people out there who may want to have more than one stocks and shares ISA that they can contribute to in a given tax year. The thing to point out is these rules don't impact lifetime ISAs or junior ISAs. So you still can't pay into more than one junior ISA or more than one lifetime ISA in a given tax year. Now, people may be sitting there thinking, I thought we could always pay into different ISAs in a given tax year. The rules previously were that you could pay into a cash ISA and a stocks and shares ISA, for example. You could pay into more than one ISA as long as they were of different types. So you could pay into a lifetime ISA, an innovative finance ISA, a cash ISA, and a stocks and shares ISA in the same tax year, as long as you didn't go above the £20,000 limit for the overall collection of ISAs that you held. Obviously, you were still not allowed to contribute more than £4,000 into the lifetime ISA. Otherwise, again, you would be breaching the rules. So the rules have changed to give us more flexibility. Whether more people will take advantage of that, we'll have to wait and see. Now, the other thing to point out is that you will be able to make partial transfers between ISA providers, even if you opened your ISA in the same tax year. Now, this again will give people more flexibility to be able to make partial transfers, even if you open the ISA in the same tax year, something that was previously a stumbling block for consumers. Now, one thing that I must point out is that these two rules are not mandatory for providers, and by that I mean is that the providers don't have to allow customers to be able to contribute to more than one of the same type of ISA with them. They can't stop you obviously doing it with multiple providers or other providers, but they don't have to allow you to, for example, be able to contribute to two cash ISAs with them. Also, they don't have to allow you to do the partial transfers in. So these are things that are subtleties, but it does mean that you may not be able to take advantage of the rules as they've been stated in the budget. Something to bear in mind and to check. Now, the other thing to point out is that you won't need to reapply for dormant ISA accounts every year, and you'll be able to put new types of assets into the innovative finance ISA. Again, there's a link to the official documentation on this if you are interested, but to be honest, most people do not hold that type of ISA anyway. Now, the other thing to mention is that the loophole allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to save up to £29,000 tax-free will close from April 2024. It was one of those things that not many people knew about. It's a bit of a nuance. There's a description further on in this article that explains what that loophole is, stroke was, depending on when you watch this video. but essentially it allowed 16 and 17-year-olds to contribute, or their parents, to a junior ISA, but they could also open cash ISAs at the same time. So they were able to essentially have much larger annual allowances that were put into tax-free environments, but that's closing anyway. Now, the other thing to point out is I'm not talking about the British ISA because that is still in a period of consultation, so we are unlikely to see anything like a British ISA until 2025. So that is a summary of the changes to ISAs in 2024. If you found it useful, do hit that like button, but also make sure you subscribe to our channel.